Living in California, people think that it's all glitz, glam, and beautiful weather. However, the price of living goes up significantly each year, but the price of minimum wage does not go up each year to match that price of living increase, making it harder for people to earn what they need to have the bare minimum necessities. According to the California Legislators Analysis Office, March 11, 2024, housing in California's major metro areas and much of the Central Coast is unaffordable for minimum wage workers in all seven types of households, for minimum wage workers with relatively favorable ratio of income and expensive. That is why today I am advocating for Prop 32, which states that California will raise minimum wage as follows for employers with 26 or more employees to $17 immediately, $18 an hour on January 1st of 2025. For employers with 25 or fewer employees to $17 an hour on January 1st of 2025 and $18 an hour on January 1st of 2026. We need this minimum wage increase in California to ensure that all Californians can live comfortably enough to survive and not live in a space of uncertainty. First, we will discuss how not raising minimum wage will harm low-income families. Second, we will talk about how our current minimum wage is affecting the community. And lastly, we will talk about the positive significance raising minimum wage will have and will be our solution. We all come from a place of love in California. Just because minimum wage may not affect you personally, it still affects the people in and around your community. The problem with people with not raising minimum wage is that it will bring an increase in our homelessness problem, which generally affects minorities. Low income families in California are already struggling to keep up with the everyday price of living with no signs of that increase slowing down. It will make it worse for them and their future. The number of young adults that I see while driving through Los Angeles that are currently homeless is very saddening. The minimum monthly rent in Los Angeles varies by neighborhood and property type, but the cheapest areas to have rents between $1,323 and $2,362 per month. For someone who is making $16 an hour minimum wage, that is not enough to afford rent, utilities, and groceries, which are essential necessities. Some people at this point will have no choice but to become homeless. According to Marissa Kendall from Cal Matters, September 10, 2024, new data shows nearly 186,000 people now live on the streets or in homeless shelters in California, proving that the crisis continues to grow despite increase in state and local efforts to stem the tide. California's current minimum wage sits at $16 an hour. The current minimum wage is starting to affect the youth's employment rate and crime rate. Research done by Sarah Bowen, Caroline Danielson, Sarah Kimberlin, Patricia McGoyan, and Christopher Wimmer with the Public Policy of California, October 23, 2023, states, even full-time employment does not eliminate poverty. In the first quarter of 2023, 8.1% of California workers aged 25 to 64 were living in poverty. That is 1.3 million people. According to the California Poverty Measure, a research effort by PPIC and the Standard Center of Poverty and Inequality that accounts for housing costs and safety net benefits. Of these workers, 84% were employed year-round, with 47% working full-time, 37% working part-time, and 16% worked less than a full year. We have to be the change before it starts to affect our youth. With the way that social media influences and affects the youth's minds today, they're influenced by a life where they can't afford to make minimum wage. This can encourage them to take other avenues to get what they want. Some may do this honestly by starting a business or becoming an influencer, but even taking those routes requires money, which leads to them in other means, which are criminal acts. According to the Journal of Economics, March 2023, by Zachary S. Fawn, Joseph J. Sabia, Razul Cesar, they state, We find robust evidence that minimum wage hikes increase property and crime arrests among 16 to 24-year-olds, a population of less skilled, less experienced individuals for whom minimum wages are likely to bind. In order for California to take the right steps to decrease the gap between the cost of living and minimum wage, we must vote yes on Prop 32, which will increase minimum wage to $18 an hour by January 1st of 2025. This will have a trickle-down effect on all California employees. The whole purpose of minimum wage positions is to provide employers with enough to afford essential needs. With an increase, this will be a step to providing this option. People should not be forced to move to another state to afford necessities like rent and groceries. People should not have to worry about choosing between staying in school or having to get a second job because working minimum wage is not enough to support their life. We talked about how our current minimum wage is affecting the community. We also discussed how not increasing minimum wage can cause an increase to the homelessness. We also discussed the solution would be to raise minimum wage by voting yes on Prop 32. In order to receive change, we must do our research and vote on Prop 32 and say yes. Thank you.